back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wa2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. I'm still on a high. I still don't know how I slept last night as the Mets advanced from the wild card series, beating the Milwaukee Brewers in 3 games in American Family Field. It's really Miller Park, and now advance to the National League Division Series starting this weekend. I'm just going to kind of take you through kind of like where my mindset was as I was watching this. Going into the game, I was feeling pretty nervous the entire day. I figured it would be very, very close, but I've seen how the Mets offense just goes into these ridiculous slumps, not for innings at a time, but even for games at a time. And at the beginning of this game, when Franciscolindor not only hits a single, but stretches it into a double after the infielder drops the ball for Milwaukee, I'm like, oh my gosh, this might be our night. But then no Met could come up with a hit to even move him to third base. They couldn't even hit the ball out of the infield. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. And it was up to josequintana. And I've got to say, there was a lot of very negative posts I saw online. Why not David Peterson? Why is Quintana pitching? And I kept telling people the guy has an ERA under 1 in the month of September, and he has shown in his career he is a very, very capable postseason pitcher. And he was brilliant in this game. 6 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts, 4 hits allowed, no earned runs allowed, of course, and only 1 walk. Quintana was excellent, and he absolutely showed why the Mets signed him 2 seasons ago. And so the Mets bullpen comes in at that for the 7th inning, and those back-to-back home runs off Jose Butto. I was stunned. Jake Bauers, who was pinch hitting for Rhyshoskins, basically pulled a Hoskins, is what he did. So he drills one, and then salfrelick, a light-hitting, speedy outfielder who had not homered since May 15th, does it on the very next pitch. He hits it into the upper deck. I mean, it was like watching Scott Podsednik in the 2005 World Series hit that walk-off home run for the White Sox against Houston. The leadoff speedy hitter, but no power. And it's like October, weird things happen. And down 2-0, there was a part of me, my mind wanted to say that the game was over. But I know how resilient the Mets are at this point. They've earned the benefit of the doubt. And I was like, too many weird things have happened this season. It's not going to end this way. We are not going to go down this quietly. Edwindiaz comes in, 1 2/3 shutout innings. It did take 20 pitches to get the last 2 outs. So Diaz came in and very quietly did his job. But the Mets offense, we've said it before, this offense had 2 hits all night, both by Franciscolindor. They made Tobias Myers, who was in Double-A earlier this year, they made him look like a right-handed Madison Bumgarner. They couldn't touch him for 5 innings. And then Pat Murphy goes to the bullpen, and they dominated. Trevor McGill, Nick Mears, Freddie Peralta, the Game 1 starter. The Mets couldn't even get a base runner against these guys. So going into the 9th inning, 16 Mets in a row had been set down. Lindor, as I said, had the only 2 hits of the game, the last one coming all the way back in the 3rd inning. The Mets had not even scored a run since the 2nd inning of Game 2. But one thing we do know, when this team scores runs, they pour those runs on. Was there another burst left? I wasn't feeling it, but I was like, this is baseball. Just the season has been too wacky for it to end so quietly. And so in comes Devinwilliams for the bottom of the ninth, the top of the ninth, one of the best closers in the game. Lindor's leading off, and I thought, well, there's nobody else I'd want to lead this inning off more than our MVP, the guy who's probably going to finish second in the National League MVP voting. 8-pitch walk. And you know what? You get that walk, sometimes that's even worse than giving up a home run because you have that runner on base and you have that other thought, with a 2-run lead, it's like, okay, it's a 1-run lead, you get to start over. But now you have the tying run up and you have that threat of Lindor being on base. There's just something about a base on balls that can mess with a pitcher, especially, a leadoff walk given up by the closer. So then Mark Vientos comes up, he strikes out swinging. Brandonnimmo, and he hits a single to right, runners on the corner. And by the way, all the best to the Nimmo family. Brandon found out just an hour before the game started that his grandmother passed away. And you know what? He played that game, and that hit. I think he had a little bit of good mojo behind that hit. And so then Pete Alonso walks up to the plate. I thought to myself, it's only right that this is the way that this goes down. So many people have quit on him over the last week, over the last month. Fans, media, radio hosts. And the numbers, if you look at the numbers, it's not shocking. With runners on base during the regular season, he hit 215, 325, and 407. Batting average, on base, slugging. With runners in scoring position during the regular season, he hit 232, 344, 417. Just a little bit better, but still nowhere near what Met fans have come to expect from the Polar Bear. He works a 3-1 count, and then on that fifth pitch, Devin Williams throws his changeup. That is a pitch no one had hit a home run off of all year long, and it was on the outside of the strike zone. It wasn't over the heart of the plate. Pete swung, and he hit it towards right field. Now, when he hit it, I'm thinking line drive. Maybe it'll get over Frelick's head. It'll go off the wall. Maybe this will tie the game because it was hit very low but hit hard. But Pete knew it immediately. Pete did it. He hits it over the fence. The Mets are up 3-2, and that stadium went as silent as it could have possibly gone. That home run, it's very rare. Baseball's been around so many years now, like 150 years. This was the first time in the history of Major League Baseball a team has hit a go-ahead ninth-inning home run with a team trailing in an elimination playoff game, in a winner-take-all game. That had never, ever happened. And the World Series goes back 121 years, but never before had that happened. A go-ahead home run in the ninth inning with the team losing in a winner-take-all game. Wow. And credit again to Carlos Mendoza. And, of course, then you get the insurance run. Jesse Winker scores that. I didn't really need him slamming the helmet down, but, I respect that he's emotional. I appreciate his energy, but come on, stop slamming your helmet down, Jesse, please. And so on comes David Peterson for the ninth inning. And Frelick leads off with a single. And it's like, oh, gosh, of course they get the leadoff hitter on. But it's like, well, all right. We're up 2 runs. So, okay, don't have to worry about that base runner. Just focus on the next guys you got to get. Then Joey Ortiz, a third baseman, strikes out. And up comes Bryce Terang, that absolute pain in the neck, who for this series has felt like David Eckstein back in 2006. Like the Mets could not get him out. And remember who was on deck? Jackson Chourio, who has basically emerged as a star this season, especially in the playoffs. And the first pitch at the at-bat is hit right to Lindor. And with the change in camera, I wasn't sure right away if it hit the ground or not. So when Lindor fields the ball and runs to second base, I was like, what is really going on here? Is he just going for the force play? And then I saw the throw to first, and it beat out Terang, and then everyone was going crazy. It really took a good second or two for it to really sink in that it was a ground ball double play, and the game was over. And then you see all the Mets jumping on each other, except for Edwindiaz. Of course, he has good reason to not jump during the celebration. David Peterson gets the save. Amazing. I did not think, and when I did my roster prediction video, I did not think Peterson would be on, considering he only has had 3 days of rest since he last pitched. But he was able to pitch on 3 days rest, pitch 7 innings, and the Mets are on their way to the NLDS. As far as an MVP goes, I'm sure it would go to Alonso based off that 1 home run. But Starling Marte, let's give him credit. He batted 3 for 9 in this series, scored a run, 2 RBIs, stole a base in the series as well. So I think Marte is going to get a little bit overlooked, but he was big. And as far as the Milwaukee Brewers go, much respect to their team, much respect to Pat Murphy, their manager, even though he did make quite a few mistakes. If the Mets weren't in this, I'd have rooted for them. I'm not going to kid you. But you know what? The truth is their fans and their local media disrespected the Mets, doing like the mock tears from the first series of the year when Rhyshoskins was mocking Jeff McNeil. But Rhyshoskins, by the way, 1 for 10 in the series. Rhyshoskins, where have you gone? But I listened to ESPN Milwaukee. I listened to Jen and Gabe, whoever it is that they have over there. I listened to a Daily Brewers podcast. They said Sean Manaea sucks. Okay, they said the Mets were all gimmicks. The Brewers were clearly better. Well, yeah, you know what? The Brewers won their division. The Mets didn't win their division. The Brewers have a history of being in the playoffs. The Mets not as much. But after all of that, I just ask, who's crying now? And the one thing I do feel bad about is Bob Uecker. Because how could you not love Bob Uecker as a baseball fan? And, there's a part of me that would like to see see the Brewers make a deep run, but not at the expense of my team. So that's all I really have to say as far as that goes. And remember, the Mets had won only one series in Milwaukee in the last 10 years. Make that 2. Now it's on to Philadelphia, the first time the Mets and Phillies will ever battle in the playoffs. We know everybody's going to pick Philly to win the series. You'll have all the Bryce Harper October hype. What makes Bryce Harper so good in October? What makes him zone in? All of that. My thought going into the series is really this. I don't want to have a mindset of World Series or bust, because at the end of the year, there are 29 teams that are disappointed to an extent when their season ends. I don't want to go there, because this run was never supposed to happen for the Mets. My prediction at the beginning of the year was 84 wins, and they'd be the first team to not make the playoffs. They won 89, got the last spot, and they won 2 of 3 in a ballpark that has been hell on them, and now they advance. Playoff baseball back in Citi Field on Tuesday. This team, man, the lows are low, but the highs are sky high. On Monday, Franciscolindor hit one of the biggest home runs in Mets history to put them ahead of the Braves to clinch that playoff spot. I didn't think it would get bigger than that. No one did. It was one of the biggest regular season games in the history of the franchise. 3 days later, Pete Alonso hit a bigger home run for the New York Mets. And I'm not here to say resign him or let him walk. That time will come. But you can't deny one thing. Pete Alonso has had his signature New York Mets moment. And to my fellow Mets fans, remember this. This is what we wait for. This is what we root for. The stress is brutal, but the stress is needed to have those beautiful moments. So you know what? Starting this Saturday in Citizens Bank Park, I say bring on more stress. Bring on the stress. Oh my God. Well, everybody, those are my thoughts on the Mets' victory over Milwaukee. And I've got a whole lot of Jets content coming out as well. The bold predictions video is up. The game preview video will be up on Saturday. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And I'll see you right back here with more content from you-know-where, the Wicker Chair.